So if you're pretty familiar with this channel, you know one of the things that I like to do a lot is to experiment with a number of different productivity tools, apps, task management, project management, and things like that. However, it seems like no matter how many of these tools and apps that I try out, I always end up with the exact same problem, which is a month or 2 months down the line, I always end up with this collection of growing tasks that never really seems to get any smaller. And it seems like some of the bigger projects that are a little bit more long-term, that have a lot of smaller tasks within them, always kind of slide to the back burner and then just end up stalling out and taking a long time, if ever, to finish. So one thing this led me to create was something by the name of Radarist. And I created this a couple of years back. It was really basic and really was only meant to be used in conjunction with other productivity tools that I was using at the time. And the idea was very simple. The only idea with Radarist is that I just wanted a nice little tool to give me a simple list of the big picture items I needed to prioritize and keep in front of me, hence the term radar of Radarist. I want to keep these things on my radar. And so again, it was really simple. It was just a list of those big projects or goals, and I would just kind of every day go through them and sort them in priority in terms of things that I would like to move forward. And then in my other productivity or task management tools, at the time I was using things like Things or Basecamp, I would make the necessary tasks in those different tools with the different people I was working on or just for my own personal use. Flash forward to about 9 months ago, and I released a video and a brand new version to go along with it of Radarist. And the whole idea of this 2.0 of Radarist, so to speak, the idea behind it was that it was to take the concept, that really simple, basic idea of getting individual projects prioritized and take it to the next level. The whole idea is that I wouldn't need the Basecamp, I wouldn't need the things. Everything would just be managed right there within Radarist 2.0. And so as it turns out, this video and just my contact form in general get comments and messages at least once a week asking me, where's Radarist 2.0? And so the long and the short of it is just that life has gotten busy. There is the main coding work that I do. There's all these other side projects I'm always working on, many of which you've seen on this channel. But every single time I try out a new productivity tool, many of which you've seen on this channel, I always end up again, as I mentioned earlier, with that same problem of not being able to keep up with the bigger projects I'm trying to focus on. So fortunately, I took some time, and slowly but surely I have been making some giant progress on Radarist 2.0. So what I wanted to do in this video was walk you through its current state. So not just the features and the functionality, but what I really wanted to do and focus on in this video was walk you through the methodology of Radarist, which is, in my opinion, what is going to make it so useful. Now, if you don't want to hear my short spiel, feel free to just skip ahead. Of course, there's always chapter markers below. So there are a number of different problems I have with almost all of the productivity tools that exist out there today. Now, while different productivity apps and tools, task managers, project managers have their pros and cons, in my personal opinion, they all kind of share a fundamental flaw, which makes them hinder, not help your productivity. Maybe you've run into this yourself. The same problem that I have, which is that I always find myself needing to take a decent chunk of time every day or at the end of every week just to manage my tasks and projects, which seems totally contradictory to what a productivity tool is supposed to help me do. It's supposed to not create more work for me. It's supposed to help alleviate and organize my work so that I can get it done more effectively. Not to mention the fact that a productivity tool that truly is helping you become more productive should also help you be less overwhelmed, or at least feel that way. So with all these different tools, what I always found was that, okay, they just throw a ton of features at you, but there's no methodology. So in other words, here's some tasks. We've got, you can make them reoccurring, you can give them due dates, you can give them deadlines, you can tag them, you can put them in folders, you can put them in projects, you can add deadlines to those projects, you can sort those projects, you can categorize those, you can tag those, you can do all of these things, but none of them, and I mean none of them, have any type of methodology which helps aid you in getting more done. In other words, Here's a bunch of stuff. You figure out how to get more done with it. Okay, with that little rant out of the way, let me go ahead and walk you through the current status of Radarist 2.0. Okay, so here we are taking a look at the newest version of Radarist, and I have started out with a blank slate, so a totally new account. So we can walk through all of the basics of how the workflow of and methodology of using Radarist will start to make some sense. So the most important page by far is the front page, and it is known as, of course, your radar. So this is going to be the thing that you're going to look through pretty much every day if you're using Radarist for a lot of your work. And so let's just go ahead and break down some of the bird's eye view of what some of these things are, and I'll talk about a little bit later on kind of how they're used. First is the inbox, which is going to work very similar to that of your email inbox, except for it's going to be a lot easier to keep clean, and of course at inbox 0. Then we have all of our active projects will appear here, which in essence is just projects that have tasks assigned to them, which will make more sense here in a moment. And then we have projects that are awaiting next action, i.e. things that either you're waiting on the client or you need something else to be done outside of your control. Either way, it's a project that still exists, is still active, but you're waiting on something in order to continue moving forward. Okay, so in order to kind of walk through the process a little bit better, I figured it would be easier to first break down the different types of productivity organization tools that are at your disposal. One of the problems is so many tools out there today is that they just bombard you with tasks, subtasks, projects, sub-projects, then folders and tags and all this stuff, and it's just up to you to figure out how to use and organize them. The difference with a Radarist, of course, is that it's much simpler, but B, it provides you not with too many tools, just the ones that you need to get more done. So what we have here is a task. Pretty simple. It's just a single thing that you need to do. And we have a project, which of course is a bigger thing that you need to do that requires a series of tasks in order to complete. And then thirdly and lastly are spaces. And all spaces are a way to organize your projects. So things for home or for work or for this, startup that you're working on or the side project or things that would contain projects. So again, no need for tags and folders and all the many things that just end up taking more time to actually manage. Okay, so to start with, I'm going to keep this very simple. This is probably way simpler than the way most people would use this, but let's go ahead and create two spaces. So one we'll just say is for stuff we're doing at home. So it creates for us a nice little space. Then we'll create again, go to new space, and we'll say work. Again, the simplest example, but you'll start to see how this comes together here shortly. Okay, so the first thing we need to do is start creating some projects that go within our spaces. You don't have to even put projects in spaces if you don't want to. You can just have a bunch of projects floating out there. But again, it's probably going to help you keep things more organized. Okay, so let's go ahead and create one for home that says model the house. And then you have the ability to give this a due date, but we're not going to. We'll go ahead and add it to home and we'll click make it so. All right, so we've got a project created, but let's go ahead and create some more so we can start to see this in action. So let's go ahead and say client's website. Say this is due, next Friday. And we need to make sure we put that in work and make it so. Okay, let's go ahead and create another one, new project. Let's go ahead and say that this is going to be my personal work website redesign. No due date, add that to work. And if you want to, you can add some placeholder text in here, but again, you can do nice, italic, bold, add a link in here. There we go. So you can add in links, all the stuff you normally would, nice and easy to edit. And then we'll click make it so. Okay, so we have another project here. And so now we can actually start the process of adding tasks. But first, let's go ahead and jump on over to our radar so we can take a look at what has happened now that we've created these new empty projects. So the whole idea behind the awaiting next action, and we're going to kind of work in reverse in terms of this order, but it'll make more sense here in a moment. But these are projects that have no active tasks in them. Now we can see here it says no completed tasks yet. And that means that nothing's been added and nothing's been completed within this project to move it forward. Now projects will also show up in this section or in this area if you have a bunch of tasks that you've added and then completed, and then you have no tasks left that are active in that project. So if we want to move these up to the active project zone, we need to start adding tasks to them. So the easiest way to do that, you can of course go up to create, new task, give it a title, add it to a project. But the easiest way is to go into a project and start just typing them in. Just click the plus button, type in and press enter. So I'll say, proposal, wireframes, mockups, designs, whatever we need to do. This is just kind of random, but for coding, testing, all the things that you need to do. And then at any point, if you need to, you just click on one of these, click edit. And if you need to type out the proposal, obviously this is for the mockup. So if we went back and let's say, I just want to go ahead and type the proposal right in here, I can do that. So here we go. Wow, I just typed out an amazing proposal. There we go. Save it, and then your proposal is right there. The other cool thing that's worked in here is breadcrumbs. So be able to just that easily pop back into its parent project or all the way to that parent space just for easy access to everything else. And then of course you can actually drag and drop these around, whatever needs to take place, and you can of course delete it. You can see the details of that outside of editing it. So there we go. We've got a project and we've got a bunch of stuff in there, and it's very simple and it's very clean. So let's go ahead and jump back up to the front end, and we will see now that because this project has tasks assigned within it, it now appears on that in that active project zone. We also see that it's blue and it says that it's in focus, which is always going to appear for the top project in this area. So it helps you focus on it. The other thing that you'll notice is that we've got the project here, but there's also a task. And you'll notice that it's not all the tasks, it's only the task at the top. So for example, for whatever weird reason, we did the wireframes before we did the proposal, we'll see that that now shows up at the top. And that is very intentional. One of the biggest problems with so many productivity tools is that they cause overwhelm. And it isn't necessary many times for you to actually see all of the things that you need. It's ridiculous for me to show to see a whole list of things. And if I'm not going to be doing the testing for this site, for example, for 2 or 3 months, I do need to do it eventually. But for me to see that every single day is irrelevant to me. All I need to focus on is one thing, the next thing I need to do. So it's grouped together to show you the space that this is in. So I know that this is for work. I know that this is my personal work website redesign, i.e. the project. And then there is just one simple, lonely task that I need to focus on, and that is it. So let's go ahead and add some more tasks here. And I'm just going to say, here is a task. We're just going to type in some random stuff because you already kind of get the idea. Pretty self-explanatory. Here is another. More here. There we go. We got some tasks in there. And now let's go ahead and add some to the house. So copying a list, do stuff, get it done. There we go. You get the idea. Okay, so now we have a number of tasks in here, and we'll see that this one even has a date associated with it because if you remember, we added a due date to that particular item. So the first thing I would do as I'm going through my day, I've got my active projects. You'll see that they no longer show up in awaiting next action because they're not awaiting next action. They're awaiting me to take action. That's why they show up on the active projects list. Let's say this is it's a Tuesday afternoon / approaching evening, and it's time for me to actually start working on some of these. So let's say I'm going to go ahead and drag home to the bottom. You see that this one automatically becomes blue. This one has a due date. It's more important. So I need to make sure I'm focusing on this particular item. Now, like I said earlier, there's going to be 2 main ways that you can start tackling tasks within a project. And the whole idea here, the way Radarist is designed and the idea behind this methodology is to help you take tiny steps every single day to getting something done. Now, what most productivity tools, and in some cases will be relevant here, you're going to see your project and then all of the things that you need to get done. Sometimes it makes sense for that. Maybe you're working on your solo focus is just on this one project. And so you need to just start knocking out tasks related to that day after day after day. But for most of us and on many projects, a lot of us are managing multiple things across multiple domains. And it's not that we want to or can even get all those things done in a single day. The idea is that we just want to make tiny progress on each of them so that they're all moving forward, nothing's falling through the cracks, right? So in a normal day, what we would probably do is or in a case when there is, we're just focusing on one project, we're just going to go to the project, check them off, and then maybe more stuff to do. We keep adding to it. You get the idea. But the idea here is that yes, while you can do that, another thing that you can do, and you'll see why that moved to the bottom here in a second. Again, most of us just want to take tiny steps in getting things done. So the idea is we've got 3 projects here that are active, and again, it's showing 1 task for each of these projects. So the idea with Radarist is that since these things are in focus, what we would want to do is say, go to our client's website. Here is the next task we need to do. I spend 30 to 45 minutes or whatever it takes. I get it done. I check it off. Then what you'll see is it automatically bumps the next project up to in focus, and client's website has moved down to the bottom. Because you've taken action, it's at the bottom of the list automatically. You can move these around and reorder them however you want, but by default, it's going to move this down to the bottom. And just like a Pez dispenser, if you're older, you know what a Pez dispenser is, but it just pops the next item, the next task here in this section. And so you kind of have this conveyor belt of projects and task groups moving in this cycle as you get more things done. So again, it's helping you focus on one tiny thing. It's bigger context so that you can make progress on everything. So let's do that again. Let's say, okay, on to the next thing. I wrote the proposal. Great, it's checked off. And now I'm up to remodel the house. Okay, now I'm gonna set aside those 15 minutes. I get that shopping list done, and there we go. And you kind of start to see how you can make progress on all these things through taking tiny steps. And again, if you ever need to, you just pop in here and you start checking off multiple items, and you can do that as well. One of the other things that you'll notice within a project as you start completing tasks is that it starts showing all the completed tasks below, so that if you need to, you can always pop into one of these, and if you need to, add some notes in there, or if oh, I actually didn't finish this, you can uncheck it, whatever you need to do. So you start seeing all of these things making progress. Okay, so let's go ahead and take a look here. Which one has the fewest? Okay, this one, the client website, only has 1 thing left to do. So let's go ahead and take a look at what happens when you finish the last task on the list. So if I click this here, you'll see then that it disappears. Give it a quick refresh. I probably eventually will code this so that you don't have to refresh. But then you'll see here that it shows up in the awaiting next action again. And again, the reason is because we've finished all of the tasks that were on this list. And so until we add new tasks to it, it's going to continue to show up on that list. But one of the things you'll notice here is that it says the last action was today. So this is going to count up as time passes since tasks were completed in this project. So it'll say last action was a week ago or 2 weeks ago or last Tuesday or whatever it is. So you know how long this project has been sitting. The idea is that you want to make sure that you're reviewing your radar every single day so that you're aware that, wow, it's been a week since I heard back from that client. Maybe I should write an email to let them know that I sent it so that it's not continuing to sit there. I want to make sure everything's moving forward. Or let's say that website is finished, the client was happy, we're done. So we just checked that project off, and now it is completed, and it is completely off of our radar. But of course, if we ever need to, we can just pop up here to the navigation, go to the archive, and we can see that client's website with all of the things that we completed. And then of course, you can always search. So client, if I can spell, there we go, client. Oh, actually you can't search because it's archived. So I'd forgotten that it only searches active projects. Eventually I'll probably add a filter in there so you can also see archived projects. But the idea is you go to the archive, you can see it, and that's all the same. So remodel. So yeah, it's going to show only active projects, but eventually I might add a filter for ones that have been archived. Okay, so that's kind of the main idea. That's the methodology between active projects, in focus, and things that are awaiting next action. Pretty self-explanatory. But you might be wondering, what is this inbox thing? What's the idea behind this, and why is it at the top? So this is to serve very much as the same idea of what you would get within your email. So, you get a new email, and then you have to deal with it. The idea here is that throughout our days, I'm sure you've experienced this as well, you have things pop into your brain, and they're things that you need to do that vary in scope, that vary in, difficulty and time, and then across multiple domains. So you could, if you're like me, probably just, go on a walk and 2 or 3 things pop into your brain, or even as you're working throughout the day. Oh yeah, I forgot I needed to order this, or I need to call so-and-so, or I need to write this email, right? So order this thing. So the idea with the inbox is that it's things that just pop into your brain that you need to make sure that you get down. So the idea is as you're working, and as these things pop into your brain throughout the day, you just want to make sure you add those to your inbox. So, call so-and-so and email the client. So just things that you remember and you just want to jot down real quick. You don't want to have to hunt around. Where do I put this? Where's it filed? All that sort of stuff. So then at various points throughout your day, what you can do is review your inbox. And the whole idea is that it's very important. You want to make sure that you're getting to inbox 0. Otherwise, this inbox is going to start crowding out everything else that, you should be focusing on. But it's made pretty easy because all you have to do is review these and place them where they need to go. Now, the idea with the inbox is that you should be taking one of two actions. Either one, if this takes less than 5, and this is a rule of thumb, of course, is just how I would recommend using it. But the rule of thumb would be if you can get this done in less than 5 minutes, why take the time to file it away? Just do it, get it done, right? Take those couple of minutes and just do it. Right? So let's say I see this on my inbox, pop over to whatever website, and I order the thing. Then I see that I have a call so-and-so. Well, that's going to take a little bit longer and I need to schedule it. So let's go ahead and schedule it for later. So what I could do then, since I don't really have time to do that right now, I'll just go ahead and move it. And so then I take this task and I put this, we already finished the client website, but let's say that I was calling so-and-so about my work website redesign and just click move, and then it has been moved to that project. And let's say I've got a client here who I need to email. Well, again, that doesn't take very long. I'm just going to email the client. So they've been emailed, and then there we go. I'm back to inbox 0. So the idea here is that throughout your day, you can just once those ideas are popping into your brain, you can make sure that you pop them in here as you need them. And then periodically throughout your day, you check them all off and you keep things nice and clean. So you've kind of got the essentials here, in my opinion, in my experience, the 3 most fundamental things that some productivity tools play around with. But the idea here is they're cut down to their bare minimum to make sure that they're helping you focus on exactly what you need to do. Got your inbox for those things that are floating around in your brain that you need to work on, but you put it on a note card or you end up forgetting about 5 minutes later. Put it here, do it or file it. And then of course here you've got your main bigger projects, which you need to focus on. But again, in such a way that you're not overwhelmed, they've just got those individual tasks related to them. And then potentially one of the most important things, in my opinion, is the awaiting next action area, where things that you have made progress on, but you're not quite sure like what the next step is, or you're waiting on the client or whatever it is. You can keep those in this section so that you can review them regularly to see if there is something that you need to do to make sure if it's stalled, it makes some progress moving forward. So just some other quick notes here. I mean, we've already been looking at the radar, but again, you can view all of your projects, which are organized and categorized by your various spaces. Of course, you can also view spaces and of course, kind of reorganize those as much as needed. Of course, you can actually click on a space, which will show you all of the projects within that space. And of course, there's also the archive, and then there is also the trash. So we haven't actually seen that, but we can see that by just popping into a particular task, deleting it, click OK, the trash, and then there you go. You're going to be able to actually that project or that task was within a project, so it wouldn't actually show up in the trash. So a better example would be trash this and then delete it, click OK, and then there you go. And you can always restore it if you need to. So that's it. Really basic, really simple. There are some potential new features that I'm considering working on, such as the ability to share a space or a project with multiple people. But again, the idea here is to keep it really simple. I don't want to pack this thing full of useless features. I want it to be simple, clean, and easy to use so that it actually helps people get more things done rather than just this monstrosity that just adds to the stress and difficulty. So the next step, of course, is that I'm working on the actual account management process, which does take a little bit of time, but just in the time being, I just wanted to show you the core functionality to give you an idea of the methodology to see if perhaps it's something that might help you get more things done as well. Okay, so that's pretty much it. As I mentioned earlier, this is still in development. However, I am hoping to bring Radarist 2.0 into a beta state. One of the big hurdles that I'm currently needing to cross or overcome is the need to build the entire account management process. So The main functionality, or I should say core functionality of the web app itself is functional, but of course I need some time to actually build out the account management and all the things that are intertwined with that process. That being said, I am planning on doing a private beta, so check out the link in the description if you would like to request an invite for that. So I am going to limit those, but if you would like to be a part of that beta, you'd like to kick the tires or even try Radarist and see if that productivity workflow works well for you, again, be sure to click the link in the description to enter in your email address to be notified when I do open up for beta. So as you might imagine, my time is limited, and so as something like this will take a pretty good chunk of time to build out and bring to a beta stage, there may be a little bit of a gap between new videos, but again, be sure to sign up below and be notified as soon as Radarist 2.0 is ready for beta testers. One last thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to be creating a feedback or suggestions page as well, where as you are testing out Radarist, or even now, you can actually go in there and do feature requests. So you can request, things that to be added or refined, or if you come across a bug, so that we can together continue to improve this tool so that all of us can get more done. So as always, if you found this video interesting or useful, be sure to hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't already, and I look forward to seeing you in the next one.